join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Sure. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These phones are too smart. Talk to you. Don't need to talk to you. Okay. I take it everybody's had an opportunity to read the minutes for our May 4th regular meeting and our May 19th special session. If so, are there any additions or corrections that need to be made? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Kay is motion to approve. Is there a second? John Clark is seconded. I'll set it pen and it's down for signatures. All those in favor, please say by saying aye.
Aye.
Miss a couple of meetings and you get out of shape. Okay. Is there any minutes that I'm really kind of covered minutes now. Is there any mail that anybody has would like to share with the council? Mr. Attorney.
I don't have anything tonight.
Should you know committee reports? Is there a commissioner representative? Nope. We have no old business. We have Joey Laughlin and Zach Jones, the school resource officer.
It's okay if we let Ryan go first?
Sure. Ryan, did you have to come up first?
Mine may take a little longer. He's the little one.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Coming before you today, since we've had new officers, I was getting things situated for them, and one of the things we were trying to get finished with was bulletproof vests for the new officers. It was then brought to my attention that all but one of our bulletproof vests is currently expired and had been for at least a year, possibly longer. So I went ahead and got a bid from the same gentleman that just redid the Sheriff's Department's vest and also does for the City Police. And what I'm asking today is to move the additional funds that we had left over from all of our salary overtures into our field supplies so that we can get those vests purchased. I've also got Jolisa from the grants who's going to be writing a DOJ dollar matching grant for us. They can pay up to 50% of that, but it's a reimbursement grant. So it's one of those where we pay and then we turn it into them and then they can reimburse you up to 50%. So I'm asking that we move $9,000 from budget line item 10213 to budget 40403, which is our field equipment.
And the 50% reimbursement would be $4,500.
Yeah, up to.
What's the life expectancy of those? Like 10 years?
5 years is what I've been told.
5.
The Kevlar can sink. It basically the weave.
Now, do you guys, or will you be wearing body cameras?
No, we've not had any kind of.
Joey, you guys are switching to that?
Yeah, we started using our body cams last week. Actually, came in very beneficial.
Have you given any thought or consideration to that?
I'm not aware of any probation departments that do, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. We're in the field about 4 days a week, or 4 days a month. So I'm not sure what the cost benefit ratio is on that, the number of hours we use them since we don't get called out.
I was just more curious.
Yeah, I think they're great.
It's kind of a CYA thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we could get them through a grant or on the cheap, I think it'd be kind of a great thing to have. But.
So on the floor, you're asking for the transfer in the amount of $10,000 to replace your bulletproof vest, and you've got a grant in the works to reimburse half of that.
Correct.
Is there a motion to approve, or is there any questions?
I'll make a motion.
Jim's in motion to assuming to approve. Jim?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bob second.
Okay.
All those in favor of saying, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
You be safe out there.
Yep. Jane, do you need my
No, I'll just use the one he just signed.
Okay. All right, that works. Thank you. Well, good evening.
Hold on, Bill, Joey. You've been on the sheriff for like 8 years, and I just called you Billy. Sorry.
Don't laugh, don't encourage it.
I missed his retirement, and I feel bad about that. Did you have anything, Dale?
I can if you want.
Not really, but
Okay.
So if you just want to share, that's
In
fine.
that case, I will. We really don't have much to report today, but representatives from DLZ were in today, and we gave approval of their construction documents that they presented today, copies of which we have in the office if anyone would like to see those. They're going to go ahead and advertise for bids on the various pieces to that project, and they will be supposedly they will have all that done in mid-July. So we just have to wait and see how that goes. They're hoping that they will get good bidders, adequate bidders, but Scott Carnegie told us today that contractors everywhere are busy. They're just covered up with work. And I think they're a little bit worried that they might not be able to get as good a bids and contractors as they would if things weren't the way they are today. And I know none of you are ignorant to that fact that everyone is busy and it's hard to get anything right now. So we'll see how that works out. We did have a discussion with the sheriff today on the, we gave permission for the sheriff to apply for the grant for the SRO officer and a deputy sheriff. And I guess if you've already talked to him, Joey, I don't need to repeat what you said. Oh, okay. I'll not spoil Joey's fun here. I'll let him speak for himself then. We did give the Cemetery Commission approval to apply for a local Fayette County Foundation grant, one of their many grants for $2,500. And I know that you have on your agenda, they're asking for a transfer of funds. And I'll explain that a little bit. With this transfer and the foundation grant, they will be able to complete their purchase of the ground penetrating radar equipment that they desire and a tripod for uprighting down tombstones in these cemeteries. And they're really excited about this, and I think it will put Fayette County's Cemetery Commission right up front compared to other counties of what they're able to do. So I'm anticipating good things coming out of that. And we did hear a presentation from Hoosier Solar, but depending on what happens at the APC and their future meetings, we'll wait and see what happens with that. Other than that, we did open 4 bids today also for our community crossings, 2022 community crossings projects, and I didn't write the amounts down. Jane has that. All of them were over. The lowest one was 1.3 million and change on the 2 roads that we've included in the community crossings projects this year. So as soon as Butler, Fairman, and Seabrook gets done examining those bids and finding a way to make the projects actually work with the amount of money that we've been awarded from the state, along with what we have committed out of our own funds, well, we'll hear back from them on June 21st. So we'll know how that's going to go. That'll be County Roads 350 South and 650 South. Total of about 8, I think 8.5 miles or something like that on that. And that does not include what our own highway department crew will be doing.
Do you have a list of like roads that they prioritize? That you're aware of, like they've gone through the county and said, okay, this road here is in dire need of repair. Do you have a list of how they go about attacking this? Because
We we use what's known as the PACER system that grades the various roads and their condition. We have maps that have them denoted as green, yellow, and red. And this is something that the state requires. So, there's a lot goes into, there's other things beside the condition of the road that goes into how they're colored. The actual traffic counts is a factor also. The more heavily traveled roads wear out faster, as everyone knows. So that's the only system we have in place right now to actually pinpoint the heaviest traveled roads that need it the worst. Now I know there's a lot of secondary roads out there that are in pretty bad shape, but those are pretty much left to our own department to take care of, and that's why every dime that's coming in our highway fund is going into the roads. So that's all I need to talk about, I think, today.
Well, I'd like to add a compliment, Dale, if I could. Coming home from a Bible study one night on Wednesday night after a storm, there was a tree down across 100 West there. Couldn't get to our home. I called Dale and it was gone the next day, so get his number and call him anything you see wrong.
It was gone that night, Bob.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I wasn't going to go to work that night, okay? It was gone the next day for sure.
Those
Appreciate
things
that.
happen all the time.
Yeah.
Dale, just go ahead and give out your cell phone.
Pardon?
Just go ahead and give out your cell phone.
Oh, no, it's okay.
765.
It's online anyhow, so,
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you.
okay, thanks all.
Thanks, Dale. Joey?
My bedtime's 10.
Your bedtime's when?
I think Dale pretty much covered it.
Yeah, are we good? You guys?
I'm good, I'm good.
So like Dale said, I'll start with something else first. One thing I'd like to start with, Billy Wason retired last week. Billy served the department for 33 years. You know, everybody here knows Billy. The contributions to the department were immense. He will leave there's a joke to be made here, but I won't. He leaves a big shoes to fill, and maybe big pants too, but he'll see this maybe. But we do have an open road deputy spot. We would like to run a process to fill that spot. Obviously, from the financial side of it, there's some savings. You're taking a guy who's been on 33 years that was on the higher end of our salary scale, had a lot of bit of longevity. So there's about a $9,000 difference in a new deputy to Billy leaving. So commissioners approved to us to do that, but obviously you guys have to fund it, or don't have to fund it, but I'd like you to fund it, but your permission to move forward to go ahead and start that process for finding Billy's replacement.
Any questions or motion to accept?
I have no objection. Consensus.
You'll be doing it through the 144 process, right? Yeah. Okay.
Make a motion to approve it.
Kay's made a motion to approve the hiring of a replacement for Billy. Good luck in replacing Billy. A second? John seconded. All those in favor of finding a replacement for Billy Wason, Sheriff's Department, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Okay.
And like I said, I missed his retirement because of my surgery, but you know, I'll probably call him, but please pass it on if you see that. I truly appreciate all of the services committed to this county.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not be where I'm at today without Billy, 100%. So I'll pass that sentiment on. So I've talked to, I think, everybody in here, most everybody in here. I emailed everybody this weekend about why I'm here. You guys seen in the paper why we're here. And we started the process of working on trying to get a full-time SRO about a month and a half ago, before the tragedy that took place in Texas happened. I've been talking to the commissioners and you folks. about trying to get a full-time SRO at the high school. And just to give a brief history, I caught you guys up in the email. I hope everybody read it. If not, and the people viewing at home, what we've been doing since 1999, we've had a part-time SRO at the high school, and for the last 4 years, we've had one at the middle school. That has been on a part-time basis. Guys either work there on their days off, or they come to work at the department, they sign out for 4 hours, go to school, and then come back for another 4 hours. That's something that's been reviewed by the State Board of Accounts. We have a separate sign-in sheet for those officers, so we keep track of their hours, so they get their 40 in, then they work however many hours at the school. It provides some relief at night, because sometimes guys are there longer. Most of those, the guys that do that are all administration detectives. So having them out at night, especially with some of our younger guys, is a good thing. And the detectives, not everybody can come in for an interview between 8 and 4. So it works out, provides a little bit of extra coverage at night. But we can't really continue to do this on a part-time basis. When we initially agreed to take on the middle school, we had 9 guys to staff both the middle school and high school. The idea for me was always to be a fill-in. If a bunch of guys went to training or somebody got sick, we had about a COVID where we were down to 5 guys and we were covering 2 schools in the road with 5 guys for 14 days. That was an option. Schools require you to go to the SRO school to be a certified SRO. There's only a certain number of us that do that. When we took on the middle school, we had 4 guys there, 4 at the high school. I was the alternate. We now whittled down to 2 guys at the middle school. One guy decided to quit, and the other guy, him and his wife had a baby. Cheaper for him to stay home. Totally understand that. Can't force him to be there, and totally understand wanting to be home with your kid. So that left us with 2, and made me working a lot more at the middle school. Never my intention. Don't mind that much. I like being around the kids. My kid's up there. I have a kid there, but I have a lot of kids there, if you know what I mean. You guys that have coached, gals that have coached, I really felt close to a lot of those kids. I've had them in drug classes, so I have a lot of kids there. So I want to be there no matter what, if I'm needed. But we've not been able to attract a lot of the younger officers into wanting to work this either. The school will tell you, and I don't want to get into specifics or say anything bad about the school, but the part-time pay for that is not great. It is significantly less than they can make in an overtime at our department, but guys are staying there and working it. We feel obligated to do this to protect our children in the community. So guys are taking those shifts begrudgingly sometimes, but knowing that we have to be there to avoid a tragedy like happened in Texas. So our idea when we met with the school is, to let them know we can't continue to do what we're doing, that we need a full-time SRO at the high school. And the school was very open to that idea. Initial discussions was the school would pay the salary, county would pay the fringe, and then we came across the COPS grant. And the COPS grant has existed for a long time, but it's nothing that I feel that I've known. I've been there 22 years. I've never known the county to apply for it. But basically what the COPS grant does is it pays $125,000 over 3 years towards an officer. So a starting deputy makes $44,000. This grant broke down over 3 years will pay $41,667 towards that deputy, which almost covers all the salary. Talking to Jane, fringe benefits can range from about $18,000 to $28,000. Depending on if we got the grant, the school is saying they would pay the fringe for that officer. They would pay the rest. So whatever that may be, if it's 18, if it's 28, they'll cover that. So basically the grant, between the grant and the school, this is a paid for position for 3 years. Year 4, it's actually a 5-year grant because they give you time to hire somebody and everything, but I think we'll won't have a problem hiring anybody. But in year 4, you have to retain the person for 12 months. They have to be on staff. That's where more money will come into play. And I have a letter here from the superintendent that I need to give a copy to the commissioners as well, where they said in year 4 that they would cover the salary, the full salary, which 44 now, I don't know where we'll be in a few years. Hopefully it's more. But that they'll cover that salary, and then the county would still take care of the fringe at that point. But, you know, that's could be a significant increase for the school. But obviously they have the need, and so do we, just as citizens and parents. But the big thing for the county, and we tried to make this advantageous for the county too. Not a lot of point of us just paying money, and obviously want to keep our kids safe, but you know, the school has money. The advantage to the county is school's going to give them 70% of the time, we'll get them 30% of the time. So anytime school's not in session, they will report to the sheriff's department. Spring break, fall break, summer break. Now, like I said this morning or this afternoon, if it was me, I would probably use my vacation, take off spring break, fall break, those things, maybe Christmas. But summer, even our veteran officers, they top out at 4 weeks vacation. They're going to be around for summer. And we've been averaging about $11,000 to $13,000 overtime every summer. Guys take trips, take vacations, go on fishing trip, whatever, a lot of overtime. So we can use that person in the summer to fill in those overtime gaps. So that's where I think it's advantageous for the county as well, that we are getting use out of this officer too. And at least it's grant funded and school funded for the first 3 years. We figure it out in year 4, school ups their contribution. But it's the only thing we see right now that's going to continue this. We have a good relationship with the school. They want to continue to partner with us. Like we said, we've done this since 1999. We have great relationships with these kids. You know, the day after that happened in Texas, I was up there. We had another day of school, and kids were nervous. You know, and kids, when they walk in and they see you and they can give you a 5 and they know you're there and you got parents texting you, it's nice to provide that relief for them. And to be honest, you know, when something like that happens, you know, we're on a different wavelength at that point, because you know, you get caught up and it's just kids, and and then something like that happens, you know, this could happen anytime. And at least 8 different things that we investigated. We just don't deal with the school during the school day. I may get a text from Brian Todd at 11 o'clock at night. This kid just posted something on Facebook. I get in the car, I drive to town, we go talk to the person, we go deal with it, because we're going to be the ones dealing with it the next day. So there's a lot that goes into it other than just the 8-hour school day. This deputy that we're hiring will be a replacement for a veteran officer that would go to the high school. So the school would really like somebody that's done this a while. This is a different type of policing. Being around kids every day is not the same as dealing with, you know, our usual clientele. So they want a veteran officer that's been around kids, that knows how to handle when a kid flips out, can talk them down, has de-escalation skills. So what this grant would do would replace that person we're going to assign to the high school, and give us an extra deputy to replace them. If you guys have any questions, feel free. I have a lot more, but I don't want to bore you with details.
Joey, what about the other 8 schools or 7 schools?
So we would continue at the middle school on a part-time basis. I think there will be enough guys that continue at the middle school. We have started discussions on trying to man every school, not just with us, but a plan to do so. I've talked to 4 officers that either have, in Wason being one, that have recently retired or close to retirement, about would they be willing to do a part-time job at an elementary school. And everybody it's been a resounding yes. I would do it I'd love to do that part-time. And you know, to me, as a parent, and I know everybody in here has kids, grandkids, the money that gets, and I ain't talking just Fayette County, the money that gets thrown around for some silly stuff, the money we could invest and protect these schools better, needs to happen. And I'm not saying the county needs to fund all of it either, but it needs to happen. And we're seeing what's happening in Kentucky, where they're now saying they're ordering an SRO to be in every K-12 school. That just came in. Ohio's doing something with their teachers where they're allowing them to be armed. I see those type of things hopefully coming to Indiana. Who knows? Hopefully the state will funnel some money down to us to make this happen. This is just the first step in making this all happen, because there's not a person in this room that doesn't want to see our school safer. And unfortunately, bad stuff it seems to be popping up all around us. I mean, we just had an officer-involved shooting in Franklin County. we've had an issue with the student this year. Sorry, one second, Bob. We had an issue with the student this year who made a threat towards the school, and they felt it was so bad because he has made other threats. He's stripped school staff. He's done other things that this kid is being detained till he's 18 years old now. It was serious. It was close to something bad happening. So, and luckily, we were able to intervene. And just like anything, though, we're relying on information. You know, some kid came forward and told us this stuff. So, sorry, Bob.
Yeah, well, that's okay. It's all right. How are you working with the city police on this?
The city police aren't really a factor in any of this, to be honest. That's an option if we want to go to the part-time. I can tell you this, for what, I'll just be honest, and I'm not trying to talk bad about the school. For what the school's paying, they're not going to do it.
Is there any possibility of talking to the school district saying, hey, you see what's going on around here? You know, my wife, she's a school teacher, she's obviously talked about it. She said, you know, I don't know who comes with the plan of the, you know, shelter in place, flee. See arguments for both the flee things. These kind of make sense to me because it's harder to shoot moving targets. Kids disperse. Might create confusion for law enforcement. You know, who's the active shooter, who's not.
Yeah.
Shelter in place too, then puts them all as city targets. And she said, if you're a teacher, you're carrying, well, you're not going to carry your gun with you.
Right.
It's going to be locked up away because of the school rules would mandate that it be out of place with students.
Yeah.
So the person that's going to be going to the gun is the person that's not the active shooter.
Right.
Who comes up with those plans? Is it the school district? Is that you?
School, and they partner with us. There's school safety meetings every month, every 2 months, that we discuss these things. All times Zach's a big part of that. Right now he's our representative at those meetings. And I can tell you, Trent Leggett handles the school safety stuff for the school, and Trent is awesome. Trent takes everything extremely seriously. He's on top of everything that comes across. Mr. Collins has been fantastic. I mean, they're always asking our input. So, and I presented something to them the other day that I think will make it safer for us too, and I'm hoping that happens. I mean, he has obviously a chain he has to run things up too, but I think there's things from our end that'll allow us to stop an active shooter a lot quicker than we presently have. So I'll leave it at that. But with that, with what Bob was talking about, I think it's really,
Well, I had a reason for asking the question.
Yeah, yes.
Okay? I personally have met some of your people in the county when I didn't stop completely at a stop sign, and they were very nice about it, but it was near a school. And I thought, and I haven't had a person from this community call me this week when they were aware of what we're talking about. A police car on a school ground would probably make somebody think twice about going to that school. And you guys are all day long, there's a few cars stopped at different areas in the town watching the traffic and seeing things right.
Yeah.
Why don't we start parking some of those cars at the schools?
We talked about that. So the superintendent's brought that up about parking different cars at schools, and we actually have done it from time to time. The thing is now, with us taking on juvenile transports now, the spare cars we have, we're running transports all the time.
That's why I wanted the city involved too.
Yeah, and so let me reiterate on the city. I'm not saying the city would not want to help, and when actually they offered the middle school, the city was part of that conversation. And I'll be honest, we wanted to.
They care about Grandview.
yeah, and they do. And anytime I ask, I talked to Chief Bolus the last day of school, and they came around. They visited schools. They were an increased presence, and I think if we're going to do it, we can't take it all on. I know that. If we're going to staff all these schools and do all that, which I eventually see coming, which is crazy that we're at that point in the world right now, but yeah, we're going to have to get the city involved at some point. Yeah,
absolutely. We need to work together on this.
Yeah, and we do. We have a great relationship. Chief Bolos and I get along great. They've been, the mayor was involved in one of these and talked with us. We have a great relationship. It's just right now our partnership with the school is leading us to high school. So I'm not saying what's going to happen next year or whoever may come in, or we don't broaden this conversation because we probably need to, but for what we're trying to do, this is the first step. And funded by the school and the grant for the first 3 years, to me it's a no-brainer. It keeps us in the schools. The middle school officer, I'm hesitant to say a lot of stuff in here because we do have to kind of keep in mind of the people that may do harm to our kids. But we visit elementaries. I won't say when, how often, but we do visit elementaries. That is a part of what we do. So it is, but it's still not enough because like the last day of school, I went to Everton, and then there was nobody at the middle school, but I had to visit Everton. Came back, and especially with what happened the day before, the whole time you're sitting thinking, what if something happens? What if something happens? You know, and I know the city would be there in a heartbeat. Our guys would be there in a heartbeat. But yeah, it's just a harsh reality that we got to continue looking to do this. But this is an important first step. And you know, from the school side, you know, we can talk about all the bad stuff that we would deal with in a situation, but they want these guys to have relationships with kids, to be their friend, to be somebody, a confidant if they need to come and talk to. And I don't know how many kids have came up to me and told me stuff this year. And it may be something as silly as, I got a crush on her. And it may be, man, my dad's using meth. I mean, I heard that this year too. So that's what the school side of it. Obviously, safety is number one. The continuity of having somebody there day after day. The stop arm violations, which was an issue this year. They asked the city to do, I don't know what all happened there. But, you know, we told them, having an officer there every day, because I may be there for 4 hours, and then Zach Jones is there for 4 hours, and then Bobby Reveley's there the next 4 hours. So I've started dealing with the fight. The next guy has to deal with it. He's not talked to anybody. So having some streamlining of that and having the same person, and the majority of the issues are at the high school. I mean, the middle school's pretty laid back for the most part, but same thing, the big threat we had this year was from the middle schoolers. So.
If you got an officer at the high school, Joy, and there's an incident in Grandview,
Yes.
how soon can that be covered?
So
would he find out first, or somebody get hold of you?
The high school officer doesn't usually leave ever because we feel like that's our biggest. As we see as time's going on, they're not just going after high schools anymore. The middle school officer usually responds to elementary issues.
Everything sits out in the country.
What's that?
Everything sits out there.
Oh yeah, well that's where my kids. Yeah, 2 years ago, my boys were in the first 2 classrooms on each end of the Everton school, and I was scared to death all year. I mean, I just was, and great school, and I know how safe they are, but still, you know how things can transpire. So yeah, that's the thing, and you know, our responsibility is county schools. So you know, no matter what, we're going to respond to Fayette Central and Everton for anything. But you know, we had an incident. Ended up being something kind of wasn't what it seemed to be. A kid was talking about getting a new gun for his birthday on the school bus. Just a normal kid talking about, you know, how excited he was to go home and shoot his gun. And another kid thought this is an active shooter situation. And you would not believe the response that was out there. There was 4 deputies, city police, the superintendent showed up within 10 minutes. It was, me and Mr. Collins just talked about it the other day. So it's just something that I think we have to put in place. Like I said, there's benefit to the county from the overtime standpoint, but you know, and I think it needs to be reevaluated after, if you guys do approve it, and after 4 years to see, you know, if there is. I talked to numerous sheriffs and SROs throughout the state, probably at least 20 sheriffs through email or a phone call, and several more SROs. Some school districts do it that the school hires the person and the sheriff grants them special deputy status. Some schools do it the way we're asking to do it. We retain control in that situation, and they're our employee. I feel like that's more beneficial. There's liability either way. If I give special deputy status to somebody that's working at school and they screw up, we're still going to be liable. So,
are school personnel allowed to carry?
No.
Ohio's passing a law to allow them to do that.
Yeah.
I think the federal law says we cannot.
Yeah.
But it's put through by Biden when he's vice president.
Hey,
Yeah.
Joey?
Yes, sir.
Why couldn't the school system get their own police force?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's something they may look into. Dale brought that up this morning.
I like to see, I hate committees,
Yeah.
but on something this big, on the taxman, I want these kids protected. I want somebody in each school.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the crazy guy, and I see your car out this one school, I'm going to another school.
Right.
And you know that as well as I do, but I like to see, like the hospital done.
Yeah.
But it's one of these deals, it's got to be like a 30-day committee.
Yeah.
I don't want one drug out because something could happen before then.
And I think, which I haven't really said, I guess, yet, I was in my email, but, you know, our hope is to have this person in place for the first day of school, to add this position.
Yeah.
So I think this grant gives us the opportunity to do with all that, Jim, is gives us a chance to work on something bigger. It gives us time for this to be funded and us to start taking bigger steps to making, whether the school's willing to do that or whatever, but, you know.
It's something we need to get on now. And
yeah, and
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
be honest with you, as a 43-year-old police officer with the limited amount of time left, I'd go do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I'd probably retire and go take that job tomorrow, or at the end of the year. Better finish my term out. But yeah, I mean, and I think there's a lot of guys that would be interested in a job like that, because it would be a good retirement job, and it would be something you know. I made the statement today, and I don't know if I said it right, but you know, being in this job a long time is you change, and your views of some things change, but one thing will never change for any person in this room is, no matter what, we're going to protect kids. And you know, me and you had that conversation yesterday. You know, you asked me about the deputies, and I don't have any doubt that any deputy that I have that works at the school would willingly go in and confront an active shooter and be willing to place their life on the line for any kid. If they didn't, I wouldn't let them work at the school. And I've told any of them, if we have something like Parkland happen, probably not going to be a good outcome. So if somebody did not go in is what I mean.
Are you looking at why it's going on at all? So, because, you know, we didn't have this 40 or 50 years.
Yeah,
And you go home and watch these video games, playing these games, and the kid's not quite right in the head. There's a lot of things.
They're right there. Cell phone.
you know, that's a much bigger question than I'm equipped to answer. I mean, I have my theory, and
Sure.
it's probably quite similar to everybody else's here too. But you know, I know that the lack of mental health options is a continuing problem, because we deal with people that come to jail that have no business being in our jail. Our staff's not equipped to handle,
Yeah.
and you know, the closing down of the facilities throughout the state's really played havoc with law enforcement, jails, and situations like this. And I mean, you know, I don't know. It's big question, but yeah. I hope we figure it out, because no matter what, I mean, I don't know how anybody's comfortable with kids getting slaughtered in a school.
That goes beyond comprehension.
Yeah, it's just that last day of school. I mean, it just breaks your heart. It's I don't even have the words.
Joe, I'm going to be supportive of the SRO and the grant process and all that. I got to tell you, I know Councilwoman Nobby's got school-age kids, and I've got grandkids that will eventually go to public school here in the next few years. I'd encourage you to encourage the school to do some sort of in-depth review of security at all their buildings.
Yeah.
And that we would all be willing to participate in that process. Because I got to tell you, if all we do is the high school and the middle school and show up at a elementary school every once in a while, and somebody walks into Everton with nefarious purposes on their mind, I got to tell you, I'm going to be one pissed off papa. And so I'd really like us to push the school to have some sort of sit down to discuss bigger issues than just this.
Yes.
So to the financial responsibility too.
Yeah, the financial responsibility as well, because, you know, look, they're their own taxing entity with more resources than us. Not too long ago, you know, we were trying to figure out how we were going to meet payroll. So this is an issue that we all got to have some clear-cut understanding about what responsibilities are whose
Right.
long term,
You're
not
right.
just right now.
And like I said, I feel like this is a first step, but I'm as a parent, I'm in total agreement with you. We have to broaden this. The last day of school, I was at the middle school, and there was an incident at Grandview. A gentleman in a vest, a fluorescent vest, tried to gain entry to the side of the school. Now, obviously, everybody was on edge that day. Ended up being the guy who worked for Frontier. He was a contractor. It was nothing. He was super sorry when I pulled him over when I found him down the street. And I explained to him, he said, man, I totally get it. I understand. And kudos to the school. I mean, they were on it. I mean, they called right away. But I left the middle school to go do that. And, you know, I don't want, especially when I'm working and my kid's there, you know, I mean, I'll protect any kid, but obviously your own kids, special place in your heart. And I'll have 2 of them at the middle school next year. And it's just, I don't know. I like I said, I feel like the school is doing the right thing in this, and they're open to all, and we had deeper conversations that I probably won't get, but it would be prudent, and I think I've talked to both you and Jim about that, about possibly getting somebody, a representative from commissioners and council, and Dale brought that up this morning about having that bigger conversation, and let's get everything lined out that I am open 100% for. I mean, I have 6 months left as sheriff, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be a part of it, and I know Zach and Craig, our 2 sheriff candidates, are passionate about this issue too, so I've talked to both of them about this too. Anything I'm putting in place, I'm including them in the conversation because I don't want to do anything I'm not going to have to live with. They're going to have to deal with this.
Better.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, goal is to have them in place January 1. So
Okay.
I have another part of this too, but whenever you guys get to it. But go
We've
ahead,
got
John.
6.
Just a couple
Okay.
of quick questions on
Yes, sir.
the soft cost of this. One of the things you talked about 70% and 30% for the county. I think you answered my question. If they're 30% of the times, probably going to be admin type duties.
No, it'll be working the road. It'll work
Well,
patrol.
Okay. Hypothetical situation in the SOR does pull somebody over for drunk driving. And a month from now, he's got to go to court.
Yeah, good point. And there'll be training and things like that that's came up. We've talked about that. We'll fill that in with a part-time officer to let the school know. Or, you know, some guys are going to get sick. They're going to have dentist appointments. You know, our expectation is they're there every day. We don't want it to just turn into, well, I'm going to take. They can't take vacation during that time unless there be a major issue or, you know, a sickness or something
You
to
say
deal
they're
with.
there, Joey, are they outside, are they in the building, or?
The majority of the time they're in the building now. The superintendent spoke about the middle school are always in the building unless we're going to another school. There's no parking lot. They don't drive there. We don't have to worry about that. The problem you have at the high school is you have kids running out to their car, skipping school.
More than one doing it too.
Yes, and the school is really wanting us more in. In the last few years, they provided us an office. We've never had an office. They gave us an office. We have access to the cameras. So there really is a big push, even at the high school, to have us in the school more, which makes total sense. Our office now is the entry to the high school. Problem with, like you said, the high school, you also have the career center, you have the field house, you have, you know, the gym by the tennis courts. There's a lot of points of access that, you know, a prop door could cause issues. We have access to the cameras. When I'm at the middle school, I'm out in the hallway during passing periods, and then when the kids go in class, I go in, pull up the cameras, and I watch the cameras. And I've caught, not at the middle school, earlier this year, I caught kids vaping, walking in, they're like looking at the cameras and being on, I'm like, well, they ain't up to no good. Walk in, they got a big old vape out, and I'm like, come on, boys, let's go. But so that's the majority of what we're dealing with. We deal with a lot of fights, a lot of vaping, a lot of, you know, just normal teenage drama, but just
The one
keep
you
the
gotta
peace.
watch is The Outcast.
Do what?
The one you gotta watch is The Outcast. Kids
Yeah, oh,
not being-
absolutely, yeah.
Not being accepted and
Bowling.
I try to go out of my way to befriend the kids that I don't see anybody else talking to. I try to befriend those kids, and I got a kid up there. I talk to about Star Wars all the time when I'm up there, and I try to. For multiple reasons, just because I don't like seeing somebody not being talked to and all that too, but you know, also to, God forbid, I'm ever in that situation, maybe they trust
go
me.
home with them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know, you're right, you're right.
And we have 6 grade schools, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the school, I agree with everything everyone said. I think the school really needs to.
Yeah. And I think they're more than open to more dialogue. So, like I said, this is just the first step. I have another part of this grant to talk about, if you want me to do that before we vote on anything, if that's okay.
Sure.
I know I've talked a lot, and I should have brought a glass of water because
Two
it's
questions.
getting really dry mouth.
Are
Yes,
you
sir.
gonna come this fall and need 2 vehicles?
Pardon
Are
me?
you gonna come this fall and need 2 vehicles?
No, I have not even bought any with the money you guys have gave me so far. So the dangerous part of all this is, as we all know, and I heard you guys talking about it, I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, is the prices of vehicles are outrageous right now. So I don't think we're buying trucks for what we bought before, unfortunately. But we're scouring, we're trying to get state bids and trying to get matching. So we've been, and it looks like some stuff's coming down, hopefully in the fall. Maybe not gas prices, but maybe vehicle prices. So we're trying to wait. But yeah, the vehicle part is something, as we've discussed, I really feel that SRO at the high school, at least while they're working during the school year, is probably going to have one of our less dependable vehicles.
But well marked. But well marked.
Well marked, a good vehicle, but not something, they shouldn't have to be running 100 miles an hour on a Signal 10 call in that, but it gets them around the school and they can keep the kids safe. But probably are higher mileage, maybe not less dependable. That was a bad choice of words.
Cambridge City Elementary, there's a sheriff or Cambridge City police car
Yes.
in the parking lot every day.
Yeah, and that's Craig. Craig works up there, so
I don't know
Craig's
what
their
they're like
SR.
inside,
Yeah, yeah. So the other part of this, if you guys don't mind, I'm not trying to keep everybody here too late, but is when we talked to Jolisa about this grant, we felt that it was a good idea to try to apply for 2 deputies. The first would be the replacement for the SRO. The second would be another deputy that would allow us to have double coverage on the road all the time. The last few elections that I have seen, and I totally agree with them, almost every candidate has said, I want to increase the coverage on the road. We need more deputies out. With this grant, we would be able to do that with the caveat, when we hire this person, that we tell them this is funding dependent. If this grant goes away, the county's in bad financial shape, we can't retain you, that's part of this. It seems like you may think, well, who would take that job? A lot of young guys, young ladies, because in those 4 years, they're going to go to the academy, they're going to gain a ton of experience, and getting a degree or getting a certificate from the academy is like getting your degree. I mean, to me, that's more valuable than somebody come in with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And that's going to give them opportunities, city police, other places. Hopefully we retain them. Hopefully we're in good financial shape. It's an awesome officer. We keep them. That'd be great. But it leaves us the out if we're not. And if we have them sign a contract, hopefully Mr. Westling would help us get something drawn up to that effect where we can say, if funding's there, we keep you. Michelle has plenty of people in community corrections that are funded by grants, that if the grant goes away, they may not be there. Doubling up the coverage gives us the opportunity to have 2 deputies out almost all the time, unless somebody takes off, whatever. And from a safety issue, having 2 guys out, because we're going to be hiring younger guys, let's just face it. I mean, we just lost a guy with 33 years experience. Bobby Revley will be 50 next year. We got more guys leaving. I'm starting to be one of the old guys, and we're going to be hiring younger guys. So having them out with veteran officers, getting them trained right way, and having another person with them to help them make good decisions. Like we talked about earlier, we have body cams now. So we had a complaint today, and somebody said an officer said something. We went and reviewed it, and absolutely didn't happen. So it paid huge dividends. But making things safer. The body cams, I explained to the guys, these are for you. These are for you to protect. If you're doing what we've taught you and what you've been trained to do, you'll have no issues. And having back up there with you on that call, and this makes them even safer and gives us another level of security. So the grant would be approved.
Talking of all this grants and everything, isn't this what Homeland Security is all about?
What do you mean?
Why wouldn't, we're looking at, there's funds out there for Homeland Security also for communities.
Yeah.
Are you looking at any of that? Register police?
That's what this COPS grant is set up for. It's been around for years. The city police hired a bunch of officers with the COPS grant over the year. The Homeland Security, Jolisa's the grant person, so she's looked into a bunch of different grants. That's not came up. Maybe there is opportunity for that. This is specific to what we're asking for here. that may be something after the 4 years is up, that we look for additional funds or whatever. You know, like I said, I anticipate, I don't know how there's not going to be federal money and state money coming down for the SRO programs. It just is. And I mean, so I think hopefully that would offset this other one. Basically, in this situation, if they're paying $41,667, we got to pay $2,233 to meet the full salary, and then the fringe. Whether that's a single guy and single girl making with $18,000, they have a single plan, or they have a family that's 28. We're getting 2 deputies for 4 years for $18,000 to $28,000, basically. And hate to keep saying it's a no-brainer, because I don't. If somebody opposes what I'm saying, I don't want to insult you. But I don't know how we tell the citizens we can't do something like that.
Yeah, I told you I was going to support it. I'm going to continue to. I do have thoughts like a couple of other council people that maybe this is a school, eventually a school force.
Yeah.
Of some height.
Maybe so.
Do a tax levy or something, and this is going to give them 3 to 4 years to, if they decide to go that way, to get it in line.
Yeah.
Well, school just got ARPA funds, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know the school's budget and what they do with money. I mean, I assume it's
Might have
being
to
spent well.
cut sports or something.
Right.
I think we pretty well covered this. Are we ready to make a motion? Sounds to me like most people are in agreement, but
I would like to ask Jane about, are the funds there for that, Jane?
Yes.
For 2 people, we got 56,000 a year. Not in trouble.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
he's made a motion to approve both. You'd want to make a grant application, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
If we can apply for the grant, obviously, if the grant doesn't fund, the deadline's the 9th and then the 16th. There's 2 different deadlines. Jolise has already started preliminary work. That's why I reached out to all you and reached out to commissioners, so we didn't like, hey, here's this for 2 days and knock yourself out. But she's already been getting things together.
I think that, okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve both grant processes for SRO officer and the road
Additional
deputy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have, motion carries. I would like to follow up, somebody had mentioned about, representative, you mentioned it from the council and the commissioners, and I think Dale is the president. Commissioners should definitely be one, right? I'd like to be a part of that. And I would encourage you, I also would like to be a part of that, and just to join participate as well too, because I think it's an issue that we need to hammer home. It's the importance of it, because it does no good to have one SRO officer to cover all these schools, outlying schools, if, and I get it. I mean, I don't consider these officers being greedy or anything, saying, hey, it doesn't pay enough.
Well,
the big scope of the big picture, they all care about kids.
Yeah.
Every single one of them does. They all care, most of them all have probably kids, either graduate or in school at this point. And I don't think they're being selfish, but I get what they're saying, and I think the school district needs to step up to a little bit more and put a little more towards that effort so that it can be possible. So I appreciate you and Jolisa, looking into this, and whoever else has helped you, and let's make this thing happen.
sounds good.
Now, is this lit thing?
Oh yeah. Let me get to the bad part. If that wasn't. Yeah, we have an additional from the lit fund, and it's basically for services. We've had Lings in that's had to weld bunks. Obviously, you guys know the age of our jail and things. They've had to be in to weld bunks. We've had Templeton's in for plumbing issues. Some of that is Bolanders with our vehicles. So we are down to $3 in that fund. There is nothing that I hate worse than coming and asking for an additional. I have maybe my second or third, and not trying to pat myself on the back, but in 7.5 years, and I'm
15.
not happy about being here.
15.
But it is what it is, and sometimes there's just more costs coming out of the jail than we anticipate.
Well,
So.
things have gone up too substantially.
Yeah.
Too,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, and one thing is, not to bring up a bad thing, but we did lose Jeff Davidson. Jeff Davidson quit, took another job. Jeff was cleaning and maintenance and helped, and we've not had a replacement for Jeff yet. So there's a lot of stuff that I think Jeff was knocking out, at least from the plumbing side, and some of these small maintenance issues that that we don't have as much help with. So that's not a knock on any, I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but like any place, if you go down a man or a woman, you're going to be, it's a little harder to get a lot of things done. So we do have to subcontract some of this work out.
Okay. So you're requesting $5,000 to be as an additional appropriation to cover those expenses. Is there any further questions for the sheriff? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Jim's made a motion to approve.
Second.
John's made a motion to second. All those in favor of approving the additional appropriation request in the amount of $5,000 for the sheriff's department, please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Anything else? It's hot here too. Goodness gracious.
See ya.
See you guys. Thank you.
Okay. I guess next up on the list is the emergency management account vehicle. And I'm glad Dale's here because, and I apologize, I wasn't able to be at the last two meetings. We had schedule conflicts. But one of the questions, and I don't doubt the validity of needing a new vehicle. That I think is definitely a need. It's long overdue to replace it. A couple questions I have is, this stuff didn't just pop up this year. I mean, this is ongoing stuff, and in our budget request, I don't really remember hearing or being asked for additional monies for maintenance items. If I remember, I asked like for $150 for gas for the entire year, which I was amazed that he could operate a vehicle for an entire year on $150 and no tires. My question to you, Commissioner Strong, is do we wait? We know that Adrian has mentioned retiring numerous times. He's made it clear this past budget season that we went over that he wanted to retire this year, at the end of this year. And I know that you and I have talked about a replacement for him, working with him for either a minimum of a couple of months or whatever that time frame is. Would it be prudent to have that person in the discussion of maybe the needs that person sees as part of this request? And I know that person doesn't exist at this time, but based on what other counties have, what they bring to scenes, John and I both in volunteer fire department, we see they'll show with the trailer. Union County has a couple trailers, I believe, that are equipped with all their gear that they have. They pull up to the scene versus one. Where's he got a 2005 Transverse or something that you can't get much in? And does he always have the equipment that he truly needs there? Yeah, we've been on calls together, joint calls, mutual aid, where it's in the wintertime, they've got a tent set up with a heater blowing in there, and the firefighter says, the water freezes up all over you and so forth, and just food, coffee or something like that. Do we need to maybe delay that a little bit? I think we need a vehicle. Don't get me wrong, we do. And John, I don't know if it was jokingly, and I was sent me some on Facebook about a Suburban, which I thought was really probably a good idea. It doesn't need to be a brand new vehicle, but something that they can set up the way that they would want it set up with their equipment and gear in it, versus, I don't know, a little Ford Ranger like you drive around sometimes. I'm not saying that's what they would do, but everybody's going to have their own idea on how they want to set it up. Do we wait for that person to be a part of that discussion?
Well, I think certainly whoever you're going to have on the job, it would be nice to have them in on the discussion. But right now, we don't know who that may be. Tell you the truth, I don't know what other EMA directors around the state do as far as vehicles. I don't know if they gravitate toward something that's small, fuel efficient, or whether they have,
They usually
you
have
know,
bigger Ford pickup trucks with
big
boxes
stuff.
on them and stuff, yeah.
It all depends on how much equipment they move around.
Well, what, because, not to cut you off, I apologize, but one of the comments that Adrian makes here, he said his four-wheel drive broke down trying to take medical responders to his scene. Well, that Transverse isn't really meant to be driven four-wheel drive across some of these farm fields and stuff. That's why they have bigger, heavy-duty vehicles that can do that. We got a grass rig at Everton that gets stuck almost every time you put in grass. That's not supposed to be the idea of the grass rig. It's supposed to be mobile and get around. So that's why I'm just saying, do we Band-Aid it together? Do we approve it on the condition that the new EMA director has some input and say-so as to what he wants to drive? There's those things that kind of going through my mind. I hate to say, let's go out and let our current EMA director purchase something that really doesn't fit the bill for what the future EMA director may want.
Well, that FEMA grant that he was talking about would pay for a vehicle on this, as the second item.
I've recently, well, I didn't hear this from the EMA director, but I did hear it from Joe Lisa Bates' office, that there is, it may be a FEMA grant or Homeland Security grant, one or the other. There is a grant available that will buy vehicles.
Is there a deadline?
Yep.
Yeah, they already passed, I think, for,
No.
Did you say, Kay, there was a deadline?
No, there's a deadline.
Do you know when?
I'd have to ask Joe Lisa and go back and look at it.
Do you know, Dale?
No, I don't know what the deadline is. These deadlines, everything's got a deadline. But there is a grant opportunity available there. And I just learned about that here within recent days, and I have not had a discussion with the EMA director about it.
Dale, I like to see the new EMA director pick his own vehicle. That's my
Jim, you
feeling.
and I have been on this council probably the longest together,
Yeah.
and do you ever recall him bringing up anything about like new tires, maintenance, or some of the things he's asking for currently?
I don't remember any.
That's what I just wonder, we can't Band-Aid this thing for at least a couple of months, because you're only talking a few months away. If as commissioners you decide you want this new person to be on 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, that's your call.
Yeah. Well, I've been hoping that we would have another vehicle that would rotate out of service, either in the highway department or sheriff's department or community corrections, that it would be better than what he has, and put that over there temporarily, like we did with the pickup truck from the health department we gave to Bill McDaniel. But there's nothing available today, and I don't know how long it will take for another one to rotate out.
Well, according to Joey, it sounds like they're not going to buy vehicles.
Yeah, I just heard him talk, and they're not getting in any
Yeah,
hurry about buying
that's
it.
Because they can't get them
That's what
in,
we're talking about.
you can't pull them fast enough.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another off-topic real quickly. You and I have also talked about the animal shelter, the one silver Ram pickup truck
I say green.
that looks like Swiss cheese. I'm not saying that we have to buy a brand new vehicle for that either. I'm just saying, is there something we could provide that's possibly a little better, that looks a little better in the county? Because it's kind of embarrassing to have that, say, Fayette County Animal Control, and it looks like a Swiss cheese, just like Cape, Wisconsin.
Yeah, it does look pretty bad. Well, we did buy one new
Right.
vehicle up there, and we need another one, for sure. But it doesn't have to be brand new. I mean,
I agree.
there are used vehicles around that would be more than adequate.
I know of a nice 3/4 tonners for sale for Ravens.
Too high. Howard checked into it.
Well, Mike, is this something we can bring up? We're gonna be having budget hearings in the next year.
Yeah, I know, that's kind of what I'm saying. I agree he needs a new vehicle. I
But we
agree
can see
wholeheartedly.
more answers
You need
maybe
to
in other
replace
months
the
of the road,
vehicle,
what I'm trying to get at.
Right, you know what I'm saying.
yeah.
But I think that who's ever going to be the new EMA director has to have some say in it, because I think even the half ton's not going to quite cut it. And some of the stuff that they have to go on, if an airplane crash, they're going to have to go off field in a cornfield or whatever it's going to be. But it's not it's not all gonna be rural or urban setting that he's just driving on city streets.
I would say table it for now and have Dale check on that grant.
And what's available.
I much prefer to
Well-
get these grants if we can, you know.
The grant process, I mean, I agree with the grant, but having gone through the FEMA grant to get us a truck back in 2003, you have to spec what you're getting. I mean, right down to the last piece of equipment. So the debate is Adrian gonna do that or is the new guy gonna do
We
that?
don't need an Escalade, right?
And, you know, and Mike and I talked back and
Why?
forth on, as firefighters, there's several Facebook pages dealing with not only used fire apparatus, but used chief vehicles in a lot of states, because there's a lot of bigger fire departments that rotate those every 8 years. And most of them you can get with 80 up to about 120,000 miles on, which isn't bad nowadays on a maintained vehicle, for $25,000 or less. And they're set up with compartments in the back. Some of them even come with his red lights all the way on. The EMA should have red lights visible on his vehicle for going to the scenes.
Right.
And I don't know whether he does now or not. Rush County uses a pickup with sides on it because they have generators sitting over there ready to come to a scene. And I tell you right now, Fayette County ain't got a spot like that.
But your blue light, by law, you do not have to get out of the way. Red light you do, blue light you do not have to pull over. You could just stick it. We've experienced it, just drive right down the road.
But, you know, those vehicles are available for a minimal compared to a brand new vehicle to be used for what he currently does around here. Or even the next one getting started, because the next person may be experienced or may not. You know, he may, depend on who we hire. And of course, my question is, when is the process going to start?
Well, I think the process is going to start very soon. Can't give you an exact day, but the commissioners have been working on job description. With preliminary discussions about the job description, and we can't advertise the job and take applications without job description. So we're in that phase right now.
Well, you know, I told Adrian when we tabled his request last month, he has enough in his funds, even though he's going to have to do some transferring, to at a minimum get the brakes and the rear suspension fixed, which he says is a hazard, and I agree with him because that's county liability. And if it takes him coming and requesting an additional appropriation for $2,000 or $3,000 to get some other mechanical issues fixed on it, to make it reliable and safe liability-wise, I think he should be doing that. You know, we can't force him to come in and ask for additional. So I guess and I don't think we're going to volunteer it.
Yeah.
Couldn't the commissioners get the car fixed even if you didn't want to? Since that's county equipment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like Jim, John, myself, and everything else is on board, but maybe just decide to wait on this until you get a EMA director or replacement in place to at least be part of the decision-making process.
I think that'd be the best thing to do.
That's your decision. Whatever you do is fine with me.
Because I think John hit it on the head, I was thinking about it. Those things have to be spec'd out down to the nut.
Yeah. You can't just say, I want to buy a pickup.
Right. You gotta have the brand picked out, what engine size you want in there, what equipment you want in there, what lights you want, what bells and whistles. Everything's gotta be spelled out.
I think they do that to discourage you from even applying. But I think maybe the trick to that would be to find a spec sheet that has worked for someone else and duplicate that.
That's what I was saying, reach out to some surrounding donut counties and see what they're doing, what we've seen. And I know what John and I have seen is not anything comparable to the transfers. Not even close. That's like, you're talking entry-level budget line type.
Mayberry.
Yeah, Mayberry would be better than that. So that would be, my thought would be to just table it until you know more about the direction of the EMA director, the current EMA director. I think it sounds to me like we're all in agreement that something needs to be done. I just don't think we have all the right people in place to make those decisions as to what needs to be in place. And I'd hate to see us spend the money on something that we really didn't need or we could have used more wisely.
So I'll make a motion that we table the additional appropriation for an indefinite period of time until the EMA and the commissioners develop a plan about how they want to proceed on a new vehicle.
All right, not a new one necessarily, but.
On a
replacement.
different, a replacement vehicle, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, John will get you on that too. Got me.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I've made the motion.
I'll second it.
Scott's made the motion that we would, and it's been seconded that we would table indefinitely the additional appropriation for emergency EMA vehicle until the commissioners and the EMA director and the possible replacement have time to sit down and coordinate on what needs to be to replace the current vehicle, whether it's new or used. Close enough?
Close enough.
All those in
Good
favor,
job,
please
Mike.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, Cemetery Commission, miscellaneous repairs. They're looking for an additional or transfer request of $750 for additional equipment. They would like to purchase a couple pieces of equipment. To do so, we would need to move more money from miscellaneous repairs to equipment. I don't know who was talking about the tripod for the grave headstone.
Yep.
Dale? Okay.
Yeah.
That's something else they were looking for.
Yep.
This along with the
Oh,
mini
right.
grant. This along with the mini grant's gonna get that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I failed to mention at the start of the meeting that, well, I think you're all aware that the Cemetery Commission did apply for a grant from Rush Shelby Energy. They asked for, I think they asked for $7,000 or something like that. They were actually awarded $4,595. Well, that left them $1,300 short of being able to buy the ground penetrating radar equipment. They also need the tripod. So they've been invited to apply for a mini grant from the foundation, $2,500. And then with that and the advantage of this transfer that they're asking for, along with the money they were awarded from Rush Shelby Energy, will allow them to buy both the ground penetrating radar unit and the tripod.
I'll make a motion, we approve the transfer for $750 from account 30501 to account 40400.
Scott's made a motion to make a motion to second. Bob has made seconded to approve the transfer request in the amount of $750 from line item 3050-501 to 4,400. We want to get $750. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Will law enforcement, if they need to have access to this ground penetrating radar as well too, so they unfortunately need it?
That question came up today. No one had actually thought about it, but why not? I mean, if something happened that they needed it,
Well, I think there's a case that's still unsolved where it's still fresh in our minds that, I'm not saying would fix anything now, I'm just saying
yeah.
situations unfortunate like that, but there.
I think once they get that equipment and get trained up on how to use it and everything, I think it'll be handy for several things down the road.
Utilities.
Utilities,
Okay. Okay, there was another transfer request for the prosecutor's office in the amount of $700 to go from line item 1030, I think it's 201, 0000660, to budget line 1044.1, 0000660. In the amount of $700 to purchase a new printer and a scanner. Motion to approve or disapprove?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
John's made a motion to approve, Scott seconded that motion. All those in favor of approving the prosecutor's transfer request amount of $700, please do so by signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. Area planning. Moving from $35 from postage to gas, diesel, oil, and lube.
You want to buy 7 gallons of gas?
$35, can we afford that?
About 2 gallons.
That wouldn't cover Jeff's gas to get over here, would it?
Is there a motion to approve?
Oh,
Bob made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Can't get to that yet.
All right.
Are there any patron concerns? Okay.
No patrons.
I don't think so. Dale?
Speaking out
Okay.
there, Roy.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.